This is the follow-up to the video I just posted about Saturn retrogrades. I don't normally do a follow-up to this kind of video, but I'm recording before I go to work and I don't have enough time to re-record the video because I put a lot of really good information into it, but then towards the end, I was looking at the timer. I saw that I was running out of time to really fully cover this particular topic in a detailed way that would make sense. But I was still trying to do that, but I knew it wouldn't happen. So I cut it. We're going to go ahead and unpack this part. So if you want to catch up or you want some background information on Saturn retrogrades, go watch the video right before this one, okay? So what we were talking about in the end of that video was Saturn retrogrades and its influence on public policies, and specifically Roe v. Wade. And again, I was so flustered. I was confusing it with other policy, but Roe v. Wade is the court case that put into place protections federally at the federal level of abortion rights for women. Okay, so January 22nd, 1973, it passes. Saturn at the time was retrograde at 14 degrees of Gemini, an air sign. So this does also indicate, because it's an air sign, which has a lot to do with the collective thought, or just the thoughts in general, but we're doing mundane astrology, so we are looking at a collective shift of consciousness, of how we view things, what we want to be put into practice on a mental level, on a policy level. At the time, Saturn was trining, okay? My brain is done. It was trine Uranus at 23 degrees of Libra. Now, that is kind of a large orb, but we're going to go with it anyway because I think it's significant in expressing how, for those that it directly impacted, this was good news. This was good policy. Libra is also the sign that rules courts. It's an ability to see both sides of the same coin. It's diplomacy, it's mediation. So there was a positive flow of energy between Saturn and Uranus. But it was unexpected. It was something that would revolutionize the way that women were able to take control over their own bodily autonomy, their own schmexual identity, practices. Was it for the better? That's not for us to say, but it did absolutely collectively, on a very large scale, impact those things. Fast forward, 2022. This was in June 24th of 2022. We see this Roe v. Wade being overturned. Okay, so we're like, what? This was essentially, it wasn't banning it. It was essentially returning the power to the states. I know it's like, this is where things get a little controversial, especially if you are like a traditional, like constitutionalist, where it's like, like, I'm not saying it's right, or I'm not saying I agree with it, but at the same time, it's like, that's actually how it should be. anything not expressly addressed in the Constitution is reserved to the states to make decisions. That particular court case really stretched it to get to where it got in 1973. It suspended logic to get there. Again, I'm not expressing my personal belief here. So you don't need to come at me in the comments talking about anything. I'm an enemy of women. None of that. I'm not here for that. I'm not saying that. But truly, that is something that should be dealt with at the state level per, again, I'm not saying it's right, per our Constitution. So Saturn being in retrograde in Aquarius at that time, 24 degrees of Aquarius, caused a reflection on a previous decision from the past. Saturn also rules, the past, time in general. So we have a period of time where the courts are relooking at it, which everyone was like, what the fuck? Why would they undo that? Why would they do that? It was I remember when it happened, everyone was just like, what the fuck? So at the time, this was square Uranus in Taurus. So squares, again, with Uranus, we are dealing with a disruption, a shock to whatever's happening. Taurus is ruled by Venus. Venus rules women. So this was very disruptive. Squares are challenging aspects. So now we're seeing a situation where those that are impacted, now remember I said in the first decision, it's like there was that trine. Those that were directly impacted, women, saw a positive flow of energy towards their specific sexual rights, their procreation rights. Now with the square, we're seeing a challenge. We're seeing those rights for women to be challenged. So the energy between these two Saturn retrogrades are, while both in air signs, making contacts to Uranus, dealing with disruptive collective ideas about their relationship with their government, where their reproductive rights are concerned. Returning the power to the people. Again, Aquarius is all about the people. So in a lot of ways, while it doesn't feel like that's what happened, returning the power to the states allows smaller groups of people to make a decision at a state level, a more localized level, about what they want to see go on in their state. Again, this is not a conversation about what's right and what's wrong or what my personal views are, but it does centralize that particular policy to a more localized level, a more personalized level, because we're not trying to please the whole collective. We're looking at more individualized, collective, smaller groups of people and what they want seen done in their part of the bigger picture. So we're also just starting to see in this process, this is the beginning. These transits are all parts of bigger stories that lead up to things. But we are seeing, because we're in another Saturn return now, what our government can do, what it won't do, what it should do, what it should absolutely stay out of. I think that over the next couple years, and this particular Saturn return or retrograde is pivotal in that movement towards figuring out how much power and control we want our local, state, and federal governments to have over us on a collective level. So it's interesting times. I hope that helps, and I'll see you in the next one.